Hi everybody, welcome to Old Colorado City. This is Taryn from White Rabbit Beads. I am here with the bead store dogs, Bo, and that was Mindy. We are here to work through your Gem Duo earring kits, so let's get started. All right, let's sort out your pieces here. I have a sample earring for you to look at while we work. And then here's all of the rest of the things. So you'll have your size 15 seed beads. You will not use all of the ones that I give you in the kit. I make sure you have plenty because those little suckers tend to run away, don't they? So we've got you there. You'll have your Mitaka beads. Now there is a front and a back side to these. One side is much more domed than the other. And sometimes you'll point them with the V in and sometimes you'll point them with the V out. So just be aware of all of that. I like to go ahead and set my beads up, making sure there's a front and back. The front and back are ready on all of them. Okay, so there should be 4 mitakas per earring, so there's 8 total in your kit. You should have 4 what they call Sykia beads or Sykia beads. I'm really not sure. Sykia. They do have a front and back. There's a completely flat side, and then there is a beveled side. So beveled side is in the front. Those have the little loops. Okay, you should have 2, so total 4 total for your kit. And then there's the plaka beads, Plaka. Those are your little textured diamonds. And again, front and back, the beveled side goes up. Your gem duos. These are not the same as super duos. Little wider shape, more traditional trapezoid rather than the kind of softer diamond shape that is a super duo proper. These are two-toned, so there is a left and right side to them, the black and white ones, and you want to make sure you have them all front and back. There is a flat side and a beveled side. If you are using one of the other kits we provided, color palettes, you will have 3 different tones. You arrange them how you like. I went light to dark or dark to light. It'll be up to you which way you turn it, but you'll want to pair them off, okay? For the purposes of this earring that I made, I did all the black in, pointing in, and white out. So that's how we're going to work today, but you get creative and do it however you like, okay? I find it extremely helpful at the beginning of this, though, to puzzle piece your earring or your pieces out. What I mean by is just sort of placing them together how they would go. Like so. I'm making sure all of the black goes inwards. And it just is a nice little roadmap for your mind of like, how does this go? So if you get stuck or lost or like which is next, you can always just kind of look at it if you don't have a sample to go from. And then these guys will go like so. Okay? And that's what I mean by puzzle piecing out your beads. It's a very helpful way to make sure, like, one, that you have all your pieces and to kind of have an idea of how they go. This is your flat back crystal piece, and your crystal drop, ear wire, and jump ring. These 4 pieces are all your last touches, so I'm just going to push them out of the way for right now. They don't need to be involved. And I'll move the sample up in the top so that we can kind of follow along. Okay, so first you'll start with your needle and thread. You need 4 feet of Nymo size B as in boy, Nymo thread. D as in dog would also work, size D. A little thicker, so passing back through might be a little bit more of a challenge. And this is a size 10 beading needle, okay? So you could do it 2 feet and 2 feet if you wanted to, or 4 feet once, and you don't have to undo your needle that way. For those of you who bought the kit, there is a pre-threaded needle because I love you all very much and I didn't want you to have to fight with threading the needle. I know how that's very intimidating for everybody. So we're going to start off with a size 15 seed bead, and we're going to make a stop bead. So we're going to slide this down until you have about 3 or 4 inches of a tail. And I'm going to pass my needle through twice the same way I went in, so that I now have a stop bead. If you're not sure about how to make a stop bead, there's many tutorials about that. available, but that's it. So this little sucker is not moving anywhere, okay? He's right there. So next, okay, so that's the first step. So first then, we're going to pick up our very first gem duo. So now that I've puzzle pieced this out, you see how easy it is for me to just slide my needle through my first 3 beads. Look at that. That's the easiest way to go. I, of course, have lots of needle and thread experience. If you're like, I am not that dexterous, just pick them up one at a time, and that's how we go. You're going to pass, having them oriented facing you with the front up. You're going to go left to right through your first gem duo, then your Sikia bead, and then your next gem duo, okay? And just be aware of your orientation. If you were doing the 3-toned ones, these 2 would be the same color, okay? So whatever color you chose to be on top, they would be the same, okay? So next we're going to add another seed bead and pass your needle back through the whole shebang. Okay, again, I know I'm very adept at this. If you're like, I don't want to do it all in one, you don't have to, okay? So we just slide it all the way through, tighten her up. And these things will rotate on you, so feel free to always set the work down and make sure that your beads are facing the correct order, okay? Now, I like to go ahead and tie at this point my tail and my working thread, because then I don't have to worry about tension from here on out. These are nice and secure. So a little surgeon's knot here, half hitch would work too, whatever, or square knot, just so that these pieces are now not going to move on you. All right. So now we're going to pass through just the top gem duo. Okay, and you can see my needle is only going, and this is the top orientation, I am passing my needle from left to right through just the top hole of your left gem duo. So pull it through. Move your tail out of the way. Sometimes it gets caught. It's okay. And now we're going to do our first jig. There are several jigs that you do. A jig is just a term meaning that we're going to maneuver the thread without picking up any beads through the work so that you are exiting a specific place you'd like to come out. And I want to be coming out right now. I'm coming out this, the top hole of my left gem duo. I want to be exiting this hole so that I can start adding my next row. So I'm just going to step down. And your written instructions have a nice illustration of this, and pass my needle here. So because of the 3-dimensional nature of these, this jig, that little loop of thread, won't be visible. So you'll just be going right around, okay? So now I'm going to pick up a Mitaka bead. And my puzzle pieces sort of come askew, but that's okay. You have your sample to look at up here. So now I'll rearrange this. Okay, so now we're going to pick up our Mitaka. Sorry, my beaterly OCD is like, it can't be out of order. I know you understand. There we go. So we're going to pick up our next Mitaka. Your V, if we're in the top, this position up, your V shape is pointed in. It is that is a greater than sign in the math lands. You're going to your tail out of the way. Run your needle through left to right, or right to left, excuse me. We're going this way. Right to left through the top hole of your Mitaka. Okay. You're going to pick up a single seed bead. And you're going to run your needle back through your Mitaka and your gem duo, just the first gem duo. And my thread is caught. And just tighten the whole thing up. Okay. So now you have this shape going on. So if you follow your pattern or your puzzle piece, you have your placa bead. That's the textured kind of diamond to make sure that it's upright. You're going to add that. We're going to be passing left to right. Here's the top orientation, left to right through the top hole. It's a 2-hole bead. And then we'll be passing left to right through the bottom hole of your right gem duo. Okay. Next, you'll be picking up your right mitaka, and this one, the orientation is pointed this way. So your V is pointing in. It's a less than sign in the math world. Okay. Moving still left to right. Then we're going to pick up a seed bead, and we're going to pass through the work back through just to the placa. So I have passed through the mitaka bead, the gem duo, and the placa bead. You can see that. And we're going to tighten it all up here. And as you work, things may become a little twisted. Don't worry about it. Okay. So now we need to do a jig so that we're exiting this side of the placa bead. So we're just going to pass the needle. There's no picking up a bead, doing a jig through, moving left to right through the bottom hole of your placa bead. Now it's going to feel like these two guys are not totally secure. Don't worry about that. You can tighten things up. So like if I wanted to tighten up, I'm going to pick up the work. I'm going to pull on the seed bead on the end, and it just snugged everything up for me. Okay. So now I am exiting the placa bead on the bottom right. So we're going to add this gem duo right here. So I have oriented all of mine so that the black face in. If you were in the 3-toned kit, you would choose your next color, the one you would like in the middle. And then we would go from here. So we're actually still moving left to right at this point. You know, and if you got it there and it was faced the other way, slide it off and try again. A quick note too, which I should have said at the beginning, when you have a 2-hole bead, go ahead and poke your needle through. Don't run it through your thread. Just poke your needle through both holes of your 2-hole seed bead, because occasionally manufacturer error happens and you'll end up with a seed bead that doesn't have a bottom hole that's fully open, and that's very frustrating because you have to backtrack your whole work to get it out. So just give yourself that little moment, check it out, okay? Now I'm going to pass my needle through the mitaka bead. And don't worry if your work jumps around. You know, if you're following the instructions and stuff, you should end up with things in the right place. I'm going to pick up a single seed bead. I'm going to run my needle back through the work, so back through the mitaka, the gem duo, and the placa bead. And to tighten things up here, I'm going to pull that seed bead and then pull the thread. Okay? You don't need these to be like the tightest tension ever, but you want them to be fairly well glued. When we get it all put together, I will be passing the needle back through the work to reinforce, to make everything tighter. So that is going to be something we do later. So if you feel like the work is a little floppy, don't worry about it. We are going to tighten things up after we get it all assembled. Excuse me. So now the next piece will be this second gem duo in this row. So I'm going to orient it so that the black faces in. And we are now moving right to left. So I'll pass my needle right to left through the top. Slide that puppy in. And pass through your Mitaka bead, moving right to left. You're now on the bottom hole of your Mitaka bead. And you can see how things start to form together, okay? So we need to add another size 15 seed bead. Run your needle back through your work, through this row. And we're just going through the Mitaka bead and your gem duo bead, okay? As you can see, I'm not going through the placa and I'm not going through the gem duo on the bottom right. We are exiting just that top. We are exiting on the right side of the top hole of your bottom left gem duo. I know that's a lot, but you know, orient your piece on the table. Your Sikia bead is pointing straight up. You have your bottom left gem duo, and we are exiting from the right side of the top hole. There's a hole here and a hole here. This is your top hole, okay? And now we get to add your next. So we're going to do a little jig. We're going to jump down. So no picking of the beads. We're going to run our needle from right to left through just the bottom hole of your bottom left gem duo. And I know the instructions on this can be a lot with left to right, so try to use the visual if that confuses you. I am not a great left to righter myself, so don't feel bad. Feel free to pause the video and just be like, am I where I should be? And you'll see, you know, you'll have your sample maybe, or you have your puzzle pieces all together. It should help you figure it out. The instructions have great big graphics that should be easy for you to follow also. Okay, so I've picked up a next, oh, see, I did that wrong myself. Now we pick up our next Mitaka. Okay, so we're going to make sure your V is pointed in. It is a greater than symbol in the math world. You're going to run your needle through the top. And see how it just starts to fall into place. Now we pick up a seed bead. And we run our needle through the Mitaka and the gem duo. Okay. And now we're going to run it through, we're going to add the last placa bead here. So again, bevel side up and flat side down. We're going to run moving left to right through the top hole. And now it's in place. I'm going to run my needle left to right through the bottom hole of the bottom right gem duo. And now we'll add our last Mitaka. It's going to be a less than symbol. V points in meaning to the center of your work. And you know, if you got it on and it was faced this way, just slide her off and try again. You know, move slow. This doesn't need to be a race. Pick up a single seed bead. Pass through the Mitaka, your bottom right gem duo, and the placa bead. So for this step, I am now exiting the top hole of the bottom placa bead, that's that textured diamond, and I'm on the left side. So I am exiting the left side of the top hole of your bottom placa. Now we're going to do a jig through the bottom hole of the placa so that you can get your thread exiting the other side. Okay. And now we're going to add our most bottom right placa bead, or gem duo, excuse me. Okay, and you see how they just sort of lock into place. I haven't stitched it in, but it just sort of falls. So you know where it's going to go. We're going to go through, moving left to right, through your bottom right mitaka. We're going to pick up a single seed bead, go through your mitaka, your gem duo, and the plaka. And you guessed it, we're going to add our last gem duo, but I'm going to go ahead and tighten this up. So to tighten it, I keep my finger on the work. I pulled the seed bead, and there we are. Now it's all snug. So I'm going to run, and black facing in, run my needle through. And if you were on a three-toned earring kit, this pair, and this pair would be the same color. However, if you want to mix it up and get creative, you absolutely can. Just beware, that was the original intent of the pattern. This likely would have been dark, middle, and lightest color, but you do it how you like. As long as it functions. You always say there's form and function. Function is first important. So now we're going to run our needle through the bottom hole of your mitaka, picking up a single seed bead, passing your needle back through just the mitaka and your gem duo. I'm going to get a hold of that seed bead to tighten it up. And now you are exiting the top right hole of your bottom left gem duo. Okay? And we're going to do a little jig to get us down to the next level. So I'm going to pass my needle moving right to left through the bottom hole of the bottom left gem duo. So now we should be exiting here. So we're going to pick up a single seed bead, pass through your bottom left gem duo, moving left to right. Pick up your final plaka bead, making sure that that beveled side is up, moving left to right. Pass your needle through, moving left to right, your bottom right gem duo. Pick up your final seed bead and pass through just the mitaka, or the gem duo, excuse me. Just the gem duo. So right now I am exiting your bottom left side of the bottom right gem duo. So now the piece is assembled. Okay, it's beautiful. You could cross over and do a half hitch knot and end here. I like to take my needle and thread and weave my way back through the work to help secure all of the rows together. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to do a jig and hop up to this row and pass my needle through. And you might feel like this needs a little more security, so maybe you go through your row here, pass through your stop bead, back through just the gem duo, do your jig. However you want to get there is fine, but just remember you're moving through the work between the beads. You're not picking up any beads. I'm just doing a zigzag that gets me back through to the top of the work. And now I am exiting where my tail is. Okay, so now I would go ahead and trim. So you have two tails of relatively the same length, 3 to 4 inches. Surgeon's knot, you're going to go once over twice over. Pull it down. And here's the nice professional touch. You could just put a little drop of glue where that knot is if you wanted, let it dry, and then trim your ends. But most of the time, professional bead weavers will back weave their tails. So that's why we left the tails as long as we did. You can go ahead and thread your tail through your needle. I like to turn it over and look at the back of it for this. It's a little easier where they're all flat. And just run your needle, your thread through 1 or 2 beads so that that tail is really secure in there. It's not going to come out on you at all. And you just trim. And we'll do it for the other one too. A couple of quick notes while I'm doing this. If you would like to use Fireline instead of Nymo, you are welcome to. It is not my favorite product. It's a monofilament, therefore it stretches and will eventually snap. But it is some people's favorite, and if it's what you have on hand, it will do. I like Nymo because it's a polyfilament, so that if the threads start to break, there's something that's holding it together. It won't just immediately snap. So now I've back woven a little bit, and there we are. There's the base piece. It looks great. Looks just like its mate. So let's get your other parts on. So now let's start with your jump ring and your crystal drop. Okay. Use your chain nose pliers. I used an oval jump ring. You're just going to open this up. Add this in. And there is your little drop on the end. I love these loop style ear wires because with the ball in them, because you don't really have to use pliers to open them. Always feed it front to the back. And then you can just close it. And there we are. Now, E6000 is my favorite glue for applying this. Super glue would work. E6000 tends to stay a little more where you put it. E6000 or super glue is very runny. So, but either would be fine. The key with both, though, is to let this sit overnight. Okay, if it can really cure, it's an acid cured glue. If it can cure overnight, it's going to be a lot stronger, hold a lot longer. Okay, so unless you're very adept with this stuff, by the way, I would not recommend that you put it right from the tube to your piece. I would recommend that you put it out on a piece of paper, use a pin or a toothpick to move it over. I do this all the time, so I feel pretty confident that I can get the right amount where I want it to go, but it is up to you. And we're just going to place it where the other is. And there we are. I'm going to let those sit overnight, but those are our lovely Gem Duo earrings. Good job, everyone, on your earrings. I hope they turned out fabulous. Please feel free to call or email with any questions that you have. We will see you in the shop soon.